This is Jess from 3D Learning Experts, and you're listening to the LD Experts Podcast, the show for busy parents who want to help their kids with learning disabilities, or as I like to say, learning differences, go from surviving to thriving. Today we are talking to Casie Fariello, the CEO of Other Parents Like Me. She is an expert in peer-to-peer support and training people to become peer supports without judgment. She is coming to us from New Jersey. And welcome, Casie.
Thank you, Jess. I was very happy you reached out to me, and I appreciate you having me with you.
Awesome. Tell us, what is Other Parents Like Me all about?
So if it's okay for me to kind of delve a little bit into my story of how it came about.
Oh, 100%, yes.
Okay. So I'm a mom with 3 kids, a daughter and 2 boys, and each of them have had their own mental health struggles and navigating through life in different ways, and their mental health struggles came out different ways. One had severe anxiety, the other one has used substances to kind of help his, and the other one used cutting in the past. They're in recovery. And I think I've heard you say this on your podcast, like felt like there was no resources as a parent and no support as a parent to help me improve, to be able to feel like it's okay for me to take care of myself. It's okay for me to stay self-regulated and not a crazy mom. It's okay to have boundaries and to figure out ways of communicating. So that's what Other Parents Like Me navigates with the support groups. Is there's 17 support groups in a week with all different types of things, solo moms, dads, general trauma, where you come in and you see other parents like you. There's 2 people who facilitate. There are peer parents. They kind of bring up a topic. They do a little meditation. So you do some self-care in the moment. And then you kind of talk about what's going on for you and how does the topic relate for you and how does it connect for you. And you finally take a moment where you step out of the chaos in your house, if there is chaos, and focus on yourself for a bit, which is really important.
And this is 100% virtual. I don't think you mentioned that.
Yes.
And so it's various support groups where you can connect with other parents like you.
Yes. And then we have speaker talks, which Jess, you're going to come on one of the days and do, where parents get to come and listen to an expert and ask questions. With those speaker talks are recorded. So people can go who are members, because for 3 months it's free, but otherwise it's $49 a month. You can go and watch the recordings as a member later on, but I'm very protective of the recordings because those are free to anybody to come and watch and see. And there's people coming from all walks of life who come to ask an expert a question. And so that's important to me that it's protected. And then we have like a million resources on our website, because that was one of the things that I had a hard time, including 3D Expert, because I just wanted a place that when you're like, oh my gosh, this is happening with my kid, and you and I talked about, my youngest has math dyscalculia, which is like one of the hardest words to say. And navigating through, like, understanding it, like having someone like you to be able for someone to read a book, find a book, like type it in, because we have a search engine, is just, I think, powerful.
And so do you have any particular focus, or is that what your different groups have different focuses?
Our focus is really that you have a child who is not what you expected they would be. And we as parents, when they're born, We think this is the trajectory, and there's this thing, right, that's kind of off when they're not following the path that you expected. And so that's why we talk about, everybody talks about their mental health issues of their children, and maybe, learning differences and how we all can connect to each other, around just like, there's some grief around it, of them not, our child not being what we expect, and finding common ground, no matter what is the thing that's for your child, is very easy when your child is not the path that you thought they were going to be on. So it's kind of all of it.
Okay, so like, are all 18 groups just open to everyone with any child? It's not any specific. Oh, I thought you had like specific groups that kind of like 12 step.
No, we don't. Yeah, no, we don't do 12-step.
No, I'm not saying you do 12-step. I just thought it was broken up, like one group for parents with kids with, let's say, a learning challenge, and one group for parents with kids who are LGBT, and one group for parents whose kids have physical challenges, but it's not like that.
No, and that is our goal, Jess. Right now we have general meetings. Our niche groups we have solo moms. So that's someone who identifies as a mom who either they're divorced, or they're a widow, or they feel alone in the marriage doing the stuff for their kid. We have a trauma group, and that's based on your own trauma from your childhood and trying to navigate through that. We have 2 dads groups. We have a women's group. We have general groups. We have ones for kids with kids in residential treatment. We have ones for people who are in aftercare from residential treatment. And then we also have people with young adults. So what I have found is that, and through my own journey of telling you, I had 3 different things, 3 different kids, 3 different challenges, is that the interesting part is that topic, whatever it is, like I like young Pueblo, he writes some really great stuff. We can talk about something. So we talk about communication skills as a topic. We'll talk about boundaries as a topic. We'll talk about, I mentioned young Pueblo. He is a poet, and he writes about trauma. And like, it's a really powerful read that's just this short thing that really can speak to people. And we might do Tiny Buddha, or because I don't know if you've read their stuff, but I love their stuff. We'll do Melody Beatty, we'll do Brené Brown, talk about vulnerability. So all those things really connect for parents, whether or not their child has a learning difference, a fully mental health, anxiety, depression, substance use, eating disorder, cutting, because it's all stuff we're struggling with. Learning how to be regulated when we're worried, when we're scared, when we're not sure what we're supposed to be doing, learning how to take care of ourselves when we have a child who, as you said, has extra challenges. And I worked with I love this woman, Jessica Pate, who has children who have physical disabilities. Yeah, I love Jessica. And she feels just as connected with us who have mental health challenges. And she didn't know that until her child started to have mental health challenges, how similar have the things in your body happen to you as a parent with a child with mental health issues versus her child who has, his disorder. And because I can't remember the name of it right now.
It's not an easy name.
I think it's Prater Willies. Yeah, I think that's right. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, I think that's right. And how powerful is that? I never knew that as a parent, and that having that all speaks to us. I never knew that. I never knew that having a child with math dyscalculia and you feel lost, because I have well, I think you discovered this too, right? I've discovered I've always said I've been bad at math. I'm always bad at numbers. I always get them mixed up. And I never knew what it was until I listened to your podcast. I was like, oh, I have it too. But you don't wish that upon your child. And you thought, oh, they're not gonna have that challenge. My child, and then you get worried. You want to fix it for them as parents, like you want to go in and like maybe do their homework, or you want to there's instead of like letting them figure out the world, which is what really part of what our mission is for us to allow our kids to figure out the world and to be able to walk alongside them on the path, instead of pulling them with us and telling them what to do. So yeah,
that is really hard. We're experiencing that with our 21-year-old who, has 8 neurodiversities, and none of the neurodiversities they told us he might have when I was pregnant with him, they said he might be Down syndrome. He is not Down syndrome, but he has 8 neurodiversities. And here he is 21, and my husband is still babying him. And all my other kids are like, you need to start letting him do things. And so, yeah, I mean, even when they are adults, sometimes it's hard to start letting them experience life because we don't want our babies to experience pain.
No, we don't. That's a big part of it. And that's what your husband would connect to the men's meeting for that, because that's what all of the men's meeting guys, they're talking about, like, how do I hold boundaries? How do I communicate with them? How do I not feel ashamed, or how do I not feel guilty that it's my fault that my child's like this? Like, and how do I not fix? How do I stay out of fixing mode? Yeah.
And I guess men don't naturally talk about personal things with other men. So right. I never thought about that before, but they really don't have anyone to talk to. Like, as a woman, we might find another mom who's struggling, so we feel a little bit more comfortable sharing our journey. But as a dad, they probably don't really in everyday life feel comfortable talking about that. Yeah.
My husband is definitely a fixer, so he's in recovery from fixing. It's not perfect.
Well, and most men are. I mean, that's how they're wired, is to fix things. I mean, I try to fix everything too, but
me too. Well, totally disclosed. Yes, me too.
So maybe that's just humans and not just men.
Yeah, it's probably true. But it is nice, like you said, to be with people in a group where you feel like what you say doesn't feel judged, and that's important. And I have a child who's part of the LGBT community, and so that's really a big passion of mine. And we're going to be 24/7 someday, and we're going to have all those things that you mentioned. One that's LGBTQ focused, one that's parents who are LGBT, child who's LGBTQ, like, having learning diversities, having Jessica Pate, she's gonna laugh at me, come in and run a group for her people. And because I just want everybody to feel that there's a place to land, that maybe one meeting is theirs and the rest is specifically theirs, and the rest are kind of general, so that you can really see, like, oh wow, we just all kind of feel lost together.
That's great. Now, so do you meet? Is it on Zoom? Do they go to the platform and connect? How does the process work?
Yeah, so so you register, you join us on oplm.com. Very easy. Other parents like me, just the first letters, oplm.com. And there you go and you'll see the calendar for the week, and you go and you pick and you sign up for your meeting, and then you'll get an alert saying, hey, it's coming up. And you then just go on the time, you just go to the website and you hit join, and you just go in through Zoom. But it's through the website, you just click join it to get you into Zoom. And The speakers, same thing, the speakers during the week. That's, you'll just kind of click on there. The expert panels, we have those once a month. And then once you are behind the paywall, which is what everybody gets for 3 months, that's the premiums, you can go and watch all of the past speakers. And we have 30 of them, which is really amazing. And you can go and, sign up for looking at a book, looking for something from Jess, one of her books, or looking for a podcast or something that speaks to you. So yeah, once you're there, oakdalem.com.
Awesome. So would you share a little bit more about your journey as a parent?
Sure, absolutely. Two of the groups that I mentioned that we run is one with a kid with residential treatment, that kid's in it, and one with that they're on the way out. So my older son, which I just love him to death, he has given me permission to share. He really struggled in high school. He felt like he was nothing at the center, at his core. And used substances, and it just kind of got a little crazy here, like punching holes in the wall, suicidal ideation, overdosing. We were doing all the things that insurance would allow us to do, and in the end, we did a GoFundMe in order to afford to send him to what was a wilderness therapy program, and then he went to a therapeutic boarding school. What we did not know and realize until, because he was gone for about 2 years, what we did not know and realize, and he shared with us, he said, he was a sophomore, kind of that's the last, he was a junior. He would not have graduated high school, he said, because the way, and this probably might resonate with some of your folks, the way school was organized for him just didn't work at all. And because math was scary for him, that's what he doesn't have math dyscalculia, but it's just not in his wheelhouse. When he was up in 5th grade, unfortunately, he got a concussion and he lost 4 months of his life. And math was the thing that he couldn't do, during that time. He couldn't use his brain like that. And so he's fell behind since. And that's a really significant age to lose that time. And for him, the way they operated the school was he could do math, get his math done for the full year for 6 weeks, and then he could focus on English and do that for 6 weeks. And that is what worked for him. And he's even shared that's a blessing of being able to be treated like, I don't operate the way normal school operates. So that's a part of our story. And I mean, I wish I had known and could have done other things to support him and maybe put him in a different, I didn't, it's hindsight is like 2020. However, he did end up in a place that he was successful.
And so is he finishing up high school right now?
He graduated only 3 months past his other friends, and that was huge for him. And he doesn't know if he would probably still be going. So he's 20 now, but he did graduate on time with everybody, and he got a diploma from his high school. And they really worked with him to allow him the flexibility of the way the other school did it. So it was a blessing in disguise. And then my youngest is a transgender child who struggled in school as well with his math and dyscalculia. He's got that. And for him, I know that other people may not have experienced this. For him, the pandemic was huge and helpful for him because, again, it was having school online for him and being able to do things at his own pace was so much more successful for his junior and senior year. And
I've heard that. I've heard that from a lot of kids.
Really? Oh, okay, so that's not unusual. Like he felt the same way. Like he did better. I know that's not everybody, but he did better being able to be at his own pace at home. He had the supports from us if he needed to ask. We got him a tutor for his math, and she was online with him to be so he didn't have that rush, for math. Like he had full support, and it was great. I mean, I know it wasn't great for everybody, but it worked really well for him. Right. My oldest was already off to college, so she doesn't really count. But I mean, she counts, but she doesn't count. And she's navigating in college with anxiety, severe anxiety, and for her, unlike my youngest, the pandemic did not help her. Like that was a struggle, like not having that socializing. So I don't, it and that's why I've learned but I learned myself the value of Zoom and the value of the same type of connection. Like I feel connected to you. That value of, even though we aren't in the same place and we're not hugging and all that stuff, like that's what I learned over the last couple of years, because I started support groups back in 2020 as kind of a beta test, and I felt just as powerful even if I wasn't in a room with everybody. It's pretty cool.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a silver lining for everything. And I think the silver lining of COVID was we got to learn that we can connect with people between screens. And, I have an accountability partner who we've been partners for 1.5 years, and we didn't meet in person until 2 weeks ago. And and I go to 12-step meetings on a regular basis on Zoom. I don't know how I could have done it if it was the only option was in person, because my meetings they're not as common ones, so they're not available everywhere like AA is. And yeah, so absolutely. I mean, and my company became 100% online during COVID as well. And we found that parents were more willing to embrace online tutoring, where when my husband had suggested I moved my company online 2 years earlier, I said, no way, I can't, it won't thrive, online, because not enough parents would have been comfortable doing it. So
yeah, no, I agree. And I really appreciate that you shared your journey and that you attend 12-step. And I think you and I talked about this, that I am sober too. For me, it's alcohol. And I've been sober for over 1.5 years, and I went a different route with using Tempest and some other programs for me that were all online.
Yeah, you don't have to waste time driving. And
agreed.
Yeah.
It's funny though sometimes you end up being on too many things.
That's true. Yeah. Yesterday I didn't even get 1,000 steps in because I was sitting at the computer all day. So that is something we have to be conscious of, and make sure we get out and get our exercise. So that being said, can people listen to the meetings and like walk?
Yeah. So I love that you asked that question. Basically, you can treat it as a podcast if that's what you need, because we feel and support 100% anonymity. You can not have your camera on, you can call yourself Snoopy, whatever you need to do, and you never have to share unless you want to. And that's why we have the 3 months before we even say, hey, pay, is because it takes time. And doing this for the last 2.5 years, there's certain family people who they come every week, but they never turn their camera on and they never speak. But what I know is that because they come every week, they're getting something out of it. And there's a reason that they're there. And what's happening is those who do share, those who do ask questions, most likely are asking and sharing and saying the things that they wish that they felt had the comfort level to do. So that's what's important. And that's why there's two facilitators, their peers themselves, they're going through chaos and crisis or whatever is going on in their house as well. And they're showing that they can still show up and still give back, and things aren't perfect. And it's really huge as a parent to be walking alongside or listening to someone who's telling their story and they're like laughing. Like, how are you laughing? And you're, as you're like crying because you're, it takes a while before you start to realize that, yeah, sometimes chaos has laughter. Sometimes chaos has gratitude associated with it, because you learn and things don't take over your life as much as they used to.
Well, and I know for me, like sometimes laughing was a protection, like try to make it less intense by laughing, or my daughter laughs when she's uncomfortable. So, I mean, laughter can mean lots of things. It's not just that someone thinks something's funny.
Yeah, exactly.
So what kind of advice would you give parents who are experiencing challenges?
One of the things that's taken me a long time for it to settle in my body and to be okay with this is, it's not your fault. It's really hard as a parent. Sorry. And know that you're doing the best you can. And it's not your fault. And as long as you continue to take those moments and accept when you make the mistake and say, I'm sorry, and know that your kid has their journey, you have your journey, and if you're willing to work and find more peace and self-care and stuff like that for yourself, the more your kid will be able to walk their path strongly on their own. And just know that you're doing the best you can. There's always room for improvement, but you know what? Where you were in that moment was the best you were. And every time you step forward and learn more things, then that place is the best you are.
That's a great answer. Thank you for your vulnerability there too.
I'm like, everybody always laugh. I'm like, oh my God, I always cry. I'm just so passionate about it. And I was that parent who thought everything I did everything wrong.
Well, and you mentioned self-care. For years, I did not understand what self-care was. It was only through my 12-step program that I have learned. Would you share with our listeners what some self-care techniques or activities look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of them is, well, if you don't have a hot tub, I have a hot tub. Then I go into the hot tub when like things are like really going to hell, and I'll just go sit in the hot tub with my kombucha and relax. So that's one. One of my, or bathtub is also good. One of the other ones is I will actually just get in the car and go out for a tea. And so I'm not doing having the tea here. I'm not sitting here, and I go out of the house. That's like the craziest thing, that leaving the house is a huge piece of self-care. And going, getting tea and just walking with the tea, going and, noticing the trees, noticing the rainy weather today, and seeing that there's beauty in the day is a big self-care thing. And sometimes it's only a minute. Other days it's an hour, but just having that few minutes So those are two big ones. And I love the Calm app. Love the Calm app. And I do meditation and I do tapping. And yeah, my mind still is talking to me the whole time. I'm really trying for those 10 minutes. And I find that even if it's not perfect, that I feel better because I've taken that time out to like just kind of notice like what my body feels like. And then most recently, but this has taken a long time, is I am actually working out. So, but that's new, and there's a lot of part of me that just doesn't want to do it anymore, but I still do it. The other things are easier than like, taking care of yourself physically.
What kind of working out are you doing?
I'm doing something called the Max Challenge. So it's 10 weeks. There's 5 days a week. You do something different each day, legs and arms on each different days, and physical, like cardio on the others, and kickboxing on the other. So it's fun. I only go 2 days a week. A lot of my other people go 5 days, but it's a community. So that was what I needed, was a place where I was back into a in-person community. So Max Challenge gave that back to me, and it's very encouraging. So that's what I'm doing.
Well, that's great. Yeah. Well, I'm my book club is reading The Power of Now right now. And if you haven't read that, I highly recommend it, because it's in line with what you were talking about calming the mind and learning how to shut it off. I haven't gotten to a point of actually practicing anything I've read yet, but we just had our meeting this morning. So, it's only been
practicing where you're learning to be where your feet are at is really hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
Well, and that's a great point for people listening to this today is I wish when I was raising my kids that I was more present while I was with them, and not always looking for the future when it got easier, because they're gone like that. And now I'm looking forward to grandchildren, and I need to just be present where I am right now.
Yes, 100%. But what I have learned is that even though like they're out of the house and doing college and stuff like that, is I agree with you. Like, I wish I would known more back then, but we're able to sit down and kind of talk through those things through and say, I wish I was more present. And they can go, yeah, but you are present now. And it really does repair a lot.
Yeah. I know I've apologized to my kids for used to have a temper, and sorry I would yell at you guys, and no, but you learned, and you got better.
Yep.
And now I don't yell at all. My child had a recent incident, and I took a while to come back, and they told their partner, oh, she was probably yelling at them. I was like, no, I wasn't. I was just giving them some pointers on how to handle this situation differently in the future. And I wish I knew how to do that sooner, but people who are listening today are that much ahead of us, because they're working on these things now. They're focused on learning tools to help their children. And so, like you said, parents need to pat themselves on the back because they're doing the best that they can do.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Do you have any last things that you want to share?
No matter what path you're on, as you get stronger as a person, your family will get stronger.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much, Casie, for coming and joining us today and sharing your heart and your passion. And thank you for setting up this program for other parents like me and like you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me and inviting me. I appreciate it.